example 10 asks us to form a quadratic equation with the root of the form a plus the square root of b. So if we have 5 minus the square root of 3, if that is a root of a quadratic equation with integral coefficients, again, integral coefficients, find the equation. So one thing that we know, okay, is that anytime you see an equation with a number minus a square root as the answer to any quadratic equation, we know that it's going to have to join its partner. So they're kind of, I like to call them little evil twins anytime you see it. So I know that I'm going to have 5 minus the square root of 3 and 5 plus the square root of 3. So this is really helpful for us because now we know what the answers are. So how do we make the equation? Well, you could go about and do the factoring like what we did at the very beginning of the section, but that would be pretty complicated. So what I'm going to suggest is, why don't we do the sum and product? So if we look at the sum, of what 5 minus the square root of 3 is, plus 5 plus the square root of 3, what you're going to notice is that the negative square root of 3 and the positive square root of 3 are going to cancel, and you're just going to be left with flat out 10. So that's going to be useful for us, because remember, the sum of roots is the same thing as negative b over a. Okay, so think about this for a second. This could be very helpful. And so then we know, what if we do the product of the roots? So 5 minus the square root of 3 times 5 plus the square root of 3. So at this point, we have to FOIL, but this is actually a special form again. This is going to make what's called the difference of squares, which is fantastic because it's very, very simple to deal with. What we do is, because if you went through and FOILed, what you would notice is that the inner products and the outer products cancel each other. So we actually don't have to do the whole FOIL. All we have to do is just part of it. And if we do part of it, we're good. And so what we're going to end up with is 5 squared minus square root of 3 squared. This is always going to work out this way. So this is 25 minus 3, which is 22. Now, again, we know that this is the same thing as c over a. So we can use this information to go ahead and find our quadratic equation. We're pretty much done. So if we start off, let's go ahead and make a 1. It makes it very simple. So it's going to have 1x squared .10 represents the opposite of b over a. So the opposite of 10 is going to be negative 10. And then we also know that, so c over a, if a is 1, this c is going to be represented by 22. So it's going to be plus 22. And so this is an equation built from two kind of complex factors. But we can use the sum and difference equations to help it and make our life very easy.